don't mind tonight. Play Craver.
Depends. Will your friend, the footballer, be there?
Oh, friend! Football friend!
Oh, what a superb goal! Stefan Mauk, that is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio.
Hello guys and welcome back to Football Friends with Ben and Steph. We had a little break there over the international break. Nothing to really report on over here in Australia. But Steph, you continued playing and had an absolute worldie on the weekend. About time. Got some goals on the board. How was it?
Yeah, it was always nice to score. I think... I've been telling all the boys here that I actually do score a fair bit. And even a few of the players had said, like, oh, I can't remember when it was, maybe a couple of weeks ago, one of the centre-backs said, oh, is it easier? Is the A-League easier? And I was like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, I don't think he was trying to take the piss, but he was like, oh, you scored a lot more. And I just said, well, I was playing more as a 10 there, where here I'm playing as a 6. So that's my excuse anyway. But on the weekend, scored 2. And, it was interesting because we played Da Nang the game week before, which was a catch-up game. So, it was weird to play them 2 times in a row, and they're actually really good. They've recruited 4 or 5 good players after January, and they're owned by Hanoi FC, the team that Harry Kuehl's at. So it's weird that, there's one guy owning 2 teams, but they've spent money, and I think they'll be safe. For us, 5-1 win, we go 9 points clear because Viatel dropped points. So 9 games to go, 9 points clear. Can't really complain. Just need to keep on going.
What was different in that game? Like, were you still playing as a deeper midfielder, or was it just that the game offered more chances to get forward? What was it?
Yeah, I think I did maybe try and go a little bit higher. Like they played man on man. Like, they're quite aggressive with their press, where a lot of other teams don't press too much. So I guess I sit in as the 6 and almost can get the ball easier. Where with this one, I went a little bit higher, just thinking that our 3 centre-backs in the lone 6 would be able to almost play out. And then if I could get it higher up, like, it was almost like the centre-back had to either decide to come to me or go to the other one, number 10. And that's how, the first goal was quite easy because of that. And then the second one, I don't know why I was up so high, to be honest. I think I just made a forward run, and our number 10, Leo, obviously found me. And the football IQ on me to just fucking toe bash it in was actually decent.
2 good goals.
I thought,
2 good goals.
Yeah.
They looked
the second
quite
one,
easy.
Yeah.
Because I think you made them look easy, but they were actually 2 well-taken goals.
Yeah, I know. And that's what they've said now. Maybe I can play striker. So it's funny how they go from saying that I can't score to now maybe I can play striker. So that's the life of a footballer.
Go back? Did you go back to the geezer on your team and said, it's fucking easy here in Vietnam?
I haven't yet. I need to score a few more. I said I wanted to score or assist. I think I said 12 or 13 total at the start of the year, and
Where
I've
are
got
you
a few
at?
more to go. So, what am I for? If I just include V-League games, I think I'm only on 7. If I include the other ones,
Okay.
other competitions, a bit more. So I've got 9 games to go to keep on going. We can actually break the points record as well.
These are flying.
7. If we win 7 out of our last 9, we'll break the points record, which sounds stupid, but we've only lost 2 games. No, 1 game for the season in the league. So it's very doable.
Impressive.
And we've played a lot of the bigger teams. So let's see. But a little bit closer to home for, I'm sure, a lot of the listeners, and the talk of the town. I saw there was an advertisement getting flown for the derby on Twitter, which they said they were amazed to see. How has the first couple weeks been with PK? There was talk of the army camp going. He said that you're not getting dressed up in the army kits. But what's it been like? Obviously, it's pretty chaotic what's happened. But how's that been for you and all the other boys?
Yeah, I think it's part and parcel of professional sport that sometimes, coaches are going to change, players change all the time. So, it's been one of those where you just kind of got to get on with it. And we've still got, a few more games to go, and really important games because, we've got a bit of pressure on us now to stay in that top 6, and our eyes are on, finishing up as high as we can. But we also need to be careful that, these 3 games to go now is going to be massively important. So it's been good. It's been good with PK. For me, it's, I've worked with him before, played with him before. So I know him. I know his demands. I think for a couple of the other boys, it was maybe something new. But look, it's for me, his philosophy is hard work comes first. And he is very switched on and adept tactically as well. But I think the first thing comes is working hard every single day in training and certain standards. So I think that sets a good precedence. If you're training like that day to day, then it's more than likely that those performances will come out on the weekend. So it's been good. It was probably just a little bit unfortunate that first game was, an absolute stalemate and we didn't create too much. But it's a little bit hard as well for him. I think that's where, people probably have to understand that it's tough as a coach coming in now at this time of the season and trying to kind of flip things on their head and expect that the team's going to play this brand new, brand of football. So we'll see. Obviously, we've got, a massive game this weekend with the derby. So it'll be spicy. And obviously, now that Uffy's gone to Western Sydney as well, it probably adds that extra level of spice as well.
Yeah. I think it would be great if Uffy was in the dugout already, to be honest. That would make it very interesting. But not to be until next season. Just going back to, I guess, what you're saying with PK and that hard work is, I guess, the non-negotiable, the first thing that's there. Like, have you noticed a massive shift in the intensity of training and, like, how hard the actual sessions are? I'm not saying that you weren't training hard before, but, like, has that been something that even the other players were like, fuck, this is different now?
Yeah, 100%. I've noticed it. Me, I'm fucking getting old, so my body notices any slight change. And like, it's not even that, of course the intensity goes up and he demands that people work hard every single day. And I think that's one thing that he won't let up on is that he'll be on your back. He'll be making sure that, you're getting back, you're going forward, you're doing everything at an intensity. And, all the sessions, they just seem to be like bigger size, like the games are bigger, they're over a bigger area. So you always find yourself running a lot more high speed meters in training. So yeah, that's one thing I've noticed for me, especially as a fullback. I'm up and down quite a lot. And usually training is like, smaller possessions and smaller passing and things like that. And we've been doing quite bigger stuff. And I suppose that's to kind of get the tactics in and see how things work in an 11v11 situation. So yeah, I've definitely noticed it. I think the other boys have noticed it as well. But as I said, like,
was there a few
day.
boys cramping in the game? Because I think it was it Tiago Quintal? Did he go down with? Yeah, I don't know if he had cramp or something. I just thought that was. It might have been like hot and humid up there, but I was just thought like, it's interesting that potentially, like, if you train harder, obviously it's good, but it's finding that right balance. And if he's cramping, it could. I just thought maybe
also the international break. Boys maybe get a little bit kind of deconditioned to matches, and then you go and play again, you get a little bit more tired. But yeah, no, the training's definitely been stepped up, and it's everything changes with coaches. The timings of things, the lead-ins to games. We've changed our way that we prepare for games as well. So there's all these things that are kind of shifting with a new coach, which is normal. But I think probably take a couple of weeks to get used to it. But yeah, we don't have time. We got to be on. So this week's going to be massive. Like, the derby's the best game of the season. So yeah, it's going to be huge, especially there.
Yeah, and last one on PK, because I know you don't want to probably talk too much about it, because it's always difficult when you don't want to. Not that you'd speak badly about Uffy, but if you say something positive, it can be kind of taken in a negative way towards how he was. But how quickly do you actually think that a coach's message can kind of come across and get like taken by the boys? So obviously the demands is one thing, but like the tactics and that, do you think it's actually like possible in these couple of weeks for PK to come in and actually instill everything he wants? Or do you think, because you've worked with him before, he's almost just tried to simplify it in a certain way that, all right, he still wants the style that he wants, but he's not been too, I guess, full on about every single detail, or it's just an information overload?
Yeah, I think you can get your message across from day one, to be honest. Like, I think it's really changing players' behaviours and habits that takes a little bit longer. Like, and obviously he's taking over a squad that is not his, so it's a squad that's already there. So maybe for the way that he wants to play, certain players can do things better than others. Whereas with the old coach, maybe that's what they were being asked to do, and they were perfect for that role. So I think that's the hard part, is that, for example, like, a midfielder getting on the ball, play forward every single time. Now, if they're used to, breaking up the play and not really playing with the ball as much and playing simple and allowing other players to do that, then that's going to be a massive shift. So I think for PK, that's, for any coach, that's going to be hard to kind of change that in a short time. But I think, just the general message of, the intensity of the game, that was like one of the first things he showed as soon as he came in, was videos from our last game and players getting back and not getting back, really with a meaning. And that was like for everyone, like, we want to achieve something. Well, is this the actions of a team that wants to achieve something, or is this just like going through the motions and hoping that your mate will bail you out? So I think
Did
like
you get
that,
singled out?
there, no one got singled out. Like I was 100%. Like there was videos of me where I'm, jogging back, and that's not okay. And those things can't slide. And I think that's what's good about him. He doesn't let those things slide, and he'll tell you, if he thinks you're out of line. So I think that's a good start. And then from then, hopefully this week we can go out and score a few more goals.
Yeah. And then I guess last one before before we move on with this is, you came out and said about Sydney FC having the best squad in the league. A few people were commenting on it. I commented more about you having a shave because you were looking a bit like Shaggy the dog there. But it's
I still am.
Yeah, I know. Which is fine. At the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you if that's what you think's working. But what is it, do you think, that can kind of unlock it? Obviously, PK's going to come in, he's going to demand certain things, but what is it that actually can unlock that? Because you've come out with a statement now. What is it in the last few weeks that you think can really get the boys firing?
Yeah, well, firstly, I should preface and say that that's what I believe. I believe that we have on paper one of the strongest teams in the league. I think we've got the strongest squad in the league, but there's other teams as well that have got really, really strong squads on paper. Now, I got smashed because, you say that and you're sitting wherever you are. I didn't say that we are the best team in the league and we've played the best football all year and we will beat anyone, because that's not the way football goes. Like for me, Newcastle, if you compare them to us, have got a weaker squad on paper. If you look at players and where they've been based on that, I don't think that you can compare the two. But Newcastle are playing unbelievable football. Millsy's got them playing in a way where everyone's confident. They know a system that they're playing to and everyone believes in it. And for me, like in sport, that happens all the time. You look at Leicester City, you look at all these underdog stories of teams that maybe shouldn't have achieved, but they did. So that's just, let me just clear with that. But look, to unlock it, it's obviously hard. Like, you can put a team of champions, doesn't mean it's going to be a champion team. I think the most important thing is that everyone's tugging on the same rope and everyone's going in the same direction. And, there's a good vibe and a good, culture in the squad. And for me, all of those things play just as big a part as, having good players, because having good players is great. But if you're not getting the results, then there's obviously other problems. So, yeah, we'll see. I just think if we can fire and we can, play to our potential, I think, we've got a great chance of winning the whole competition.
And how, again, this is going to be a difficult one for you, and last one on Sydney FC, but I'm feeling like a proper reporter here.
Yeah, I feel like this isn't a podcast. It's just,
What was the... because he left a few of the big dogs out in the last game. Did you notice like a good reaction? Because I think that's like one thing as well. Like when players get left out, they can be pissed off, but it can also work the other way where it's like, okay, they get hungry now and everyone's like, okay, a new coach is here. Have you noticed that it's like, all right, there was maybe that initial disappointment of potentially, the foreign boys not starting, or a couple of them. Have you noticed, all right, in training now, they're like, okay, I got to prove myself to this new coach?
Yeah, well, I don't think, I think for someone like PK, like he's going to play the team that he thinks is going to be the best to win the game. So if you're not going to react like that in training, then you're not going to play. I don't think he really cares who it is. And, based on performance and how he thinks that player is going to fit into the team. So I think those boys have been really good in training and working hard. But at the end of the day, like who he chooses to play is who he chooses to play. It could be me next week that doesn't play. And as a professional, I think the only way to react is put your head down, train hard, and prove why you should be playing. When you get a chance again, you're ready. If you don't work hard in training, if you don't come with a good attitude, then chances are next time you do start a game, you're not going to be ready. You're going to play shit. And then, it's a blame culture. And I think a blame culture is not a culture that you find in winning teams.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. And then you've got the derby this week, like you said, so there's no better game for it. And the Wanderers have been, I guess I can say this because you're not the one that's saying it, but they've been so poor. And for the club of that size, like they've obviously tried to change the coach. They didn't really get a reaction from that. And you look at their squad, and they're another one with a good squad, and they've just been so bad. So it's crazy to see a club like that struggle for so long and not have that success since Popper was there in those first couple years. I'm really interested to see. Obviously, this game for them is a bit of a free hit. Whether if they win, it's great. If they lose, everyone's expecting it. So I think the pressure's on you guys. But I'm really interested to see what they do come next season with Ufi going there and players and different things, because they can't. I think the fans are sick of it. They're sick of that. Mediocre performances of everyone involved in the club, and I don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on, but it just seems like it doesn't matter who's there, that the same kind of results are happening, if not getting worse. So, I don't know what they can do that's different, obviously, but something probably needs to change. Do you guys feel, I guess, in this game here that there's going to be a few, like in the last few, a few talking points with Pantasopoulos and stuff, or is it both sides going to be quiet and just let the talking on the pitch do the job?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to talk as much after what happened last time. But yeah, like for me, that's a perfect example. Like I would say players at Western Sydney, when I come out and say that, we've got the best squad in the league, they'd be thinking, fucking hell, I think we've got a better squad, and they're bottom. So as I said, like it's not that, you invest and you bring in great players that it means that you're going to get the results. Like for me, they've got one of the best squads in the league by far. So as a club, they're probably looking at it going, well, we've invested in the squad. We've brought in great players. I'm sure they're spending big money in terms of salary cap and, probably paying marquee players. And I think they're probably stretching the salary cap to the absolute maximum, and then they're bottom. So there has to be, other things that are not aligned within the club, because it just doesn't make sense to me in a salary cap league where everyone's quite even, but they're spending, probably big money, that they can be down there. So, it's really, really strange. But as I said, like it's a derby game. That all kind of goes out the window. They don't really give a shit about where they are on the ladder, and neither do we. Like we know that they're going to be up for it. These are the games that you get up for. So it's going to be a massive game regardless.
Yeah, exactly. And going on to, I guess, a few of the talking points from the weekend that went by, and I guess what's just happened in the last couple of days, because we're releasing this later. Did you see the concussion stuff? I think there was two over the weekend. The one in the Adelaide game with Mai, and then Esposito in the victory game. Yeah,
really strange. I think like a big problem is teams, when they travel, they don't travel with a doctor, so they get assigned like a doctor on game day. Who don't know the players, who probably aren't privy to previous concussion tests and things like that. So I think there's a big grey area, but it's a serious injury. Like repeated concussions can be really, really dangerous. You see that probably more in other sports than football. But yeah, I don't see how that's really happening at this level. There's no way that someone should be allowed to come back on, if there's been a concussion protocol. I don't understand it.
I think the obviously the AFL in Australian sport anyway is leading out in the NFL. I'm sure they've done a lot of stuff, and that's probably what the AFL is now going on, because they've got lawsuits coming out their arse. And I just saw recently with the AFL, they've got like a few players trying to get payouts that they're not getting paid out, and I think Zurich Life Insurance have said that they're taking out the concussion or the head knocks, whatever it is, clause, because I guess they have to prove like that they can't function at all post-career, where an ACL or a knee injury, ankle injury is completely different versus the head injury. So it's interesting that if they're not going to pay it out in the AFL, the players, it's going to be an interesting one to see, well, what do they do now? They're obviously not covered for head injuries, and where less likely to receive head knocks like that, but twice on the weekend it happened, and I think the same, like twice that my one was so obvious that something happened. He obviously had, whether it was a concussion, sometimes you get hit to the ground, you just lay there, you're like, fuck, like, I just got smashed here. But I think, like, it looked that bad on the replay that the doctor should be looking at that straight away and being like, all right, we're taking this out of the player's hands. Because as a player, you're always going to be like, no, I'm fine. Like, you're in the moment, you kind of got this adrenaline rush, so you don't really know. And I think that's where, like you said, if you've got your own team doctor, but I think your physio as well, I think they just need to, like, make the decision for the player, obviously. And I know you can't do like the AFL where you've got a 15-minute concussion protocol, but we do have the concussion substitution, which is one bonus thing that you can worry about now. And as a player, like, you don't want to be finishing your career because of head injuries and then having long-lasting stuff. So it's something that I think they need to probably get clearer on, the APL and the FA and whatever the rules are. So it doesn't happen again, because it's not a good look.
Do you think they could introduce like a interchange, like where you can bring the concussion sub on while they're doing all the testing and stuff, even if it takes 10 minutes, that player can then go on, and then if they're cleared, the other player can then come back on. I know there's no interchange in football, but would that not make sense just to cover 11 players for the time being?
Yeah, probably makes the most sense, really. Like, and then he can stay on if he wants to stay on, and then that counts as the concussion substitution, I guess, if he gets ruled out, or if you're just like, what, just stay with it because we're not 100% sure. I think you probably get some people trying to like manipulate that in a way to suit themselves, but I don't think it's going to be very rare when someone can do it. But realistically, if you want the proper time for a doctor to have to actually assess it, you don't want to be down to 10 men for 10 minutes. So you're just going to take the player off. So then it forces the doctor into making a really quick decision. I think that's probably not a bad shout. Maybe you need to go to FIFA and pitch that one.
Go into the referees and say, listen,
IFAB.
change every other fucking rule. So let's just change this one as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, anyway, we'll see. I'm sure, like anything, all it's going to take is a few players that have a lawsuit against the league, whether it's in Australia, whether it's overseas, and then things will get changed, because the leagues and everything, they don't want bad stuff to happen to players where they're going to be held responsible for it. So, speaking of not head knocks, but players that can head the ball very well, Dukey was on fire. Is he putting his hat back in the ring, you reckon, to go to another World Cup?
Yeah, I think so. Just, based off the last camp, obviously he had Juric that came in and kind of got a shot, didn't score. So, yeah, maybe, look, if Popper's wanting someone that's had that experience, knows what it takes, has been involved in the national team, and he's open to that, then Dukey would be a perfect contender. But I also think that, he's got to be consistent, and I think it's easy after having one worldie game to be like, fuck, he should be back in there. But I think it's consistency over a long period of time. He has scored goals since he's come back, so can't take that away from him. But obviously, I think these next games, and then seeing what happens with finals, I think that's probably the next thing we can touch on, and what teams are actually going to be there. Because if he goes now these next 3 games, and let's say they play a couple in finals and scores another 4 or 5 goals, then 100% you got to be at a World Cup. You got to be taking players that are in form, and if he's flying, then why wouldn't his name be in there? What do you think?
I think the same. I think, and this is where, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, I think when someone has done a job before, they've got a little bit of that currency on their side. So even if, for example, I don't know, a Denny Juric or a Ante Suto, for example, they got called up as well, or I don't know, let's say Cassini Yengi gets back to form. If those guys are doing well and maybe performing better than Dukey, you could be like, well, they should get picked. But it's also, well, Dukey's gone to a World Cup before. He's gone to these moments. He's played in it. You can kind of trust him. He's not going to kind of get overawed by the occasion. That's the only reason why I think it's good to have some of those older statesmen there, just to guide the younger ones. And it is a relatively young squad when you look over, if you've got, what's his name, fucking Moture firing again, Nesta, like if those, let's say those two are starting, it's pretty young. If you have a Dukey there to kind of guide him, to help him, Even Geordie Boss, left wing back, he's young. You've got right wing back, you'd think is Italiano based on recent stuff. He's not that old. He hasn't been there that often. Harrington's been in the squad. Chikada's young. I know he's very experienced in his games, but like it's a pretty young squad. Besides Matt Ryan, Aziz, like there's not
Jacko.
really too many older. Jacko, like there's not actually many like McGree, Metcalf, O'Neill, Yazbek. Like they're not old, so I could understand. Deganek, yeah, Deganek's probably the one at the back as well. If Suter comes back in, like you probably, because you can have a squad of 26 now. Maybe you choose 2 or 3 of the older players that are there to kind of help the other boys out that can still do a job. But yeah, I don't know. I think you're going to have someone else. Mo Touré's leading the line 100%. Whether you play him with Nesta, whether Nesta's the one that comes off the bench to make more of the impact. But then against certain teams, having that bigger striker that can win headers and scrap and fight, that's where Dukey obviously can do really well. And I don't know if there's going to be many other surprises with the squad. I think probably the biggest one of late is Harrington for me. Like he has to go. Like he looks so good in the games that in the minutes that he played. I saw he was linked with Everton and West Ham, whether that's true or not, but it was an MLS kind of page talking about young players, and he's only been there for a few months, and he's already smashing it there. So he's got such a big future. But very interesting to see, I guess, what they do with the final places and the finals in the A-League, I think, can play a massive part in it. Because if your team gets knocked out in the next 3-4 weeks, I think it's almost curtains for you just because you're not playing enough games. Where if you can go deep into it, it makes a big difference. And the top 6 is pretty open now. What have you made of this season? Why do you think it is so open? Probably it's down to ninth position, up to 5th, where you guys are really, even above you. It could change.
Yeah. I just think the overall investment in players across the league is, I would say, lower than before. I think you've got so many teams that have got so many young players that the young players are great because they're exciting, and, we're giving young players a platform now to go and play games and then, move abroad, which ultimately is what Australians want, because this is never going to be an endpoint league for young players that are coming through. You want to go overseas, you want to go to a higher level and test yourself. So it's great on that front, but I think on the other side and on the flip side, you get inconsistency in performances, and I think that really sums it up. Like if you look across the league, like what teams, say take out the Jets has run, what other teams have really gone on a real barnstorming run and just won games consecutively? You looking at the ladder now and you just see, loss, draw, win, loss, draw, win, loss, win. Like it's just, you flip the coin most weeks and it feels like that as a player. Like, there's not one easy game. There's not one game where you go and you're like, we'll win this for sure. We're playing Western Sydney away. They're bottom of the league. You should win that game. But then it's a massive game. It's a derby. So there's just, you go away to Brisbane Roar. They hadn't kept a clean sheet in 14 games. We created hardly any chances. So there's there's just no easy games. So it's gonna be interesting. Like, you've got Mariners, you've got Wellington, MacArthur, who are sitting outside at the moment, but by 3 points.
Do you feel like the overall quality of the league is lower than previous years?
It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that in the games. It's not like in the games, as an experienced player, you're going like, this is easy. I think I think the fact that every team is maybe slightly younger, slightly a little bit more inexperienced, just makes the overall game harder. Obviously, you've got different players around you. I think, you play your best stuff when you've got great players around you and you're in a team that's flourishing. Sure. Everyone's absolutely flying. That's when everyone looks good. But I think in the team, if you've got, young players that are maybe one week they're a 9 out of 10, the next week they're maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10, then you're obviously relying on those players because the team has to be the one that plays well together. You can't have 1 or 2 players that are flying in a team that's, if you're not getting the ball as a striker, then how good can you look?
Yeah. It's actually a good point. I think there's certain players that when they're around better players, they look a lot better. And there's certain players that then actually can't go up to that next state, that next level because of different reasons. And that's why I like when people say like, oh, what's the league in Japan, like J2 when I was there versus Vietnam versus Australia versus European. Like it's so hard to actually compare the two because they're so different. Sometimes when you play with players that are lower in here, for example, there's 6 or 7 really good teams and the other ones are definitely lower. Sometimes those teams are harder to play against because they defend deeper. They are more, I guess, it's like when you play the NPL teams, probably the best example in the Australia Cup. I sometimes found those games harder because you didn't know what they were going to do because they weren't actually aware of what they were going to do sometimes. So it makes it harder where in the A-League, all right, like you're playing against a team, you know the structure, you know what type of player you're playing against. It can be simpler. So it makes sense, I guess, that, you know, younger players, they're finding their feet. Yes, and this is what gives us those magic moments as well because they will take the lower percentage option sometimes, which turns out to be a goal where, you know, the other 3 or 4 times they lose the ball. So you need to find that balance, and that's where, I guess, like you mentioned earlier as well with Millsy and Newcastle, I think they've found that balance really good with, yes, they're still playing young players, but they're very specific in the way they want to play, and I can, almost assure you that that's drilled in by him from the start of when he got here that, yes, we want to play this way. Yes, you can obviously have a bit of freedom in it, but it's so strict in a certain way that the players then look better and can be more consistent because of it. So 3 games to go. I can't believe there's only 3 games to go. Like I've still got 9 league games to go. I've played so many more games than you guys, and you've only got 3 games to go. And I was just looking then, and obviously because of Adelaide United, I was like, oh, like Adelaide are doing all right. But if they lose that, they've got hard games to finish off against the Jets, MacArthur, and City. You lose those last 3, like they could actually potentially fall out of the top 6, but they could also potentially finish first still. Like it's wild how open it still is. And yeah, I'm interested. We said it 4 weeks ago about City that they could be a dark horse, maybe longer. Maybe it was even end of January. We said, oh, they could be a dark horse, and they just kept stinking it up. And now they've almost won 2 games.
We said after that, like, oh, yeah, it's probably done for them. And now they're in there. They're sitting on 32 points. They're 2 points behind us. It's like, how do you see it? Like, if you could pick it right now, obviously there's 3 games to go. A lot can change, but you've got the top 6 as it is. You've got MacArthur, Wellington, and the Mariners. I don't think outside of that anyone can make it. But do you think any of those 3 that aren't in it right now could jump up?
I think, not disrespecting Wellington, but I think they're the ones with probably, from the games I've watched, with the least quality. Obviously, probably making the change they did with Chris Greenacre coming in has helped them for whatever reason in the way they're playing now. I just don't think they'll win. They need to win, I reckon, 2 games and draw 1 to have a chance to go in, I think, based on the other teams. And I don't think they will do that. But you never know. I think that last place, MacArthur and City will be fighting it out. And City play Wellington this week, for example. So, like, straight away there, they win that game. Obviously, it's completely different. MacArthur have got Perth away, which is a bit of an easier one. City play Brisbane, which you'd say is an easier one on paper. And then it's like MacArthur v Adelaide, which is a tough one. And City have Adelaide in the last game. MacArthur have Wellington. So they're kind of playing each other. I just think MacArthur will probably win maybe 2 games. So I think City need to win 2 to consolidate that 6th spot. And then you guys, you need to make sure you get a few points just to sneak into the 6th, which I'm sure is not acceptable. You want to be going for that 3rd place spot, even though it looks like now, based on the news that came out, that Heidelberg are going to get the AFC 2 spot. What's your thoughts? Obviously, FA decide that. What's your thoughts as a player? Is it a good thing? Well, firstly, as a player, obviously, I'm sure you're cooking about it because you want that if you can finish 3rd. But do you think it's a good thing for the game to kind of incentivize those teams in the semi-professional leagues?
Yeah, I mean, it's a results-based thing, and they were the team that got there. So it's obviously worked out a little bit of a miracle, the way that obviously Newcastle are now top. They won it, and now they're top. So then Heidelberg are the second best team. But Heidelberg also beat so many good A-League teams on the way there. So it's like, I think it is fair enough. I think the only thing where it's kind of up in the air is just the fact of the costs, whether they're going to be able to have a squad that's big enough and professional enough to actually go there and then compete and put their best foot forward for Australia, because it's obviously all ranking points with Asia.
Yeah.
And then like their facilities, like when they're hosting games and things like that. Well, so I
They'll
know
have to
some of
play
these,
Amy. I think they'll have to play Amy
so
or
however that's going to work. But is that then going to be, I think it's $100,000 to rent Amy. So how is that going to be covered? Because for Heidelberg, if they play, what will it be? Probably six matches in the group, is it? So 3 at home, 3 away. So that's $300,000 just there. So what payments are they going to get? How are they going to afford it? I think if it's all feasible, like they deserve it at the end of the day. Like I know A-League club can sit there and go like, oh, that's bullshit because we finished third and we should get it. Well, no, they did better than an A-League team in the Australia Cup. So it is what it is.
I'm the same. I think the only thing that would be frustrating is if they went into it and didn't do well because of the ranking points. That's the only reason why. But at the same time, well, that's not how it works. You don't just be like, well, we want to put the best team forward for ranking points. You got to give it to the team that's obviously deserving of it. And I actually think they'll get better crowds than what A-League teams do in the Champions League. Because for some reason in Australia, the Champions League is just not really, it's just not respected. And it's midweek, so a lot of fans don't want to go to the games midweek. And the crowds are normally pretty disappointing. So I actually think Heidelberg, even though they do need to obviously spend a lot more to rent Amy Park or wherever else they can have the games, I think they'll actually get bigger crowds because people will be like, you know what, fuck, I actually want to go and see this. Like, this is exciting. And as a community football fan, you'd be like, well, I want to support Heidelberg because I know this is costing them money. So if you're an NPL fan of another team, I'm sure you'd be more likely to go to that than if Melbourne City or Victory or Western United when they were in it back in the day. So I think overall it's good. And I think this is probably one of those things where it's like, you know what, if these teams can do this, maybe there is that, all right, they can have a proper second division because they are able to fund this type of stuff and they are able to compete on this stage. So it's probably a good case study for seeing how professional the NPL clubs can be. The hardest thing is just going to be on the individual players that go from the Australia Cup and the second division last year into the NPL season this year into another Australia Cup and second division into Champions League. Like, that's a lot of games for semi-professional players. So, I would love nothing more than, I don't know what I'm doing next year, but if I am here at Kongan Hanoi and we're in the Champions League, I would be buzzing if we drew Heidelberg and got to come back and play against them. I think that'd be awesome. So let's see how it goes. Obviously, I think the FA have come out and said that's how it is. It's up to AFC to kind of give their requirements now and everything like that. So that's really up to the governing body. But I'm sure no A-League fan would be disappointed to see Heidelberg actually winning the spot.
No, absolutely. Well, last thing, quickly, before we jump off, Mata and the elbow surgery, it's unfortunate for him because what a year he's had. And, you would think that could be the year done for him. But do you think this ruins his chances of maybe winning the Johnny Warren? There's obviously 3 games to go and then finals.
Yeah.
But I think he'd be right up there in terms of Johnny Warren. I think he has been probably the best player in the league. I know that he obviously gets a lot of hype because of his one Mata, but I think the stats speak for themselves, and he actually has been unbelievable this season. I think probably without him, Victory probably wouldn't be in the position that they are. So what do you think? What do you think it means for him?
Yeah, I think the most disappointing thing would be is if this is the last we see of him in Australia. I saw, whether it was bullshit or not, I saw he was linked with Lion City Sailors in Singapore. And I think the A-League needs to be doing everything they can to keep one Mata. I know he's potentially looked at investing in clubs before. Like, for me, get him involved. We've been speaking about it for a long time, but Canberra, for example, or whoever it is, whoever the teams are that need to come in, we need to grow the league. Whether it's the NPL teams coming in, I don't care. But somehow get him involved in that Beckham-style deal potentially, because of the players that he would be able to maybe attract and just his star power. So that's the long term. But I think short term, I still think if he was going to win the Johnny Warren, he's probably done enough. Unless someone like, I don't know. Jesse Randall's been really good for me. Verstraete from the Jets, I think there's probably not been one standout player. Like they've had Dobson for me has been really good. Clayton Taylor's been really good. Like, Bayless has been good. Rose has been good. Like they've had so many players that have kind of done well that I don't think any one individual will score enough points. And I don't really know if any other players have stood out for me in the league like consistently this season. So unless I'm missing anyone, I think he's probably the one that's been the most consistent, and his name carries a bit of weight. So I think automatically when he does something, you do notice it a little bit more as well. So I think he might have it wrapped up, and hopefully when they give him the Johnny Warren medal, they can give him a little something else to make him stick around for another year, because he's definitely got the legs for it. But what do you reckon? Anyone else that's really stood out in the league that you think might be better than him, or in the last 3 games has the chance to get over him?
I just think individually, like, he's just been so good in terms of providing goals and assists. So I think that's going to get it. Like, I think, Newcastle, you said, there's so many players that have been great. I think Auckland, you look, I think De Vries has been unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think Cosgrove's been good. I think Randall's been unreal. I think for me, like Harrison Devonish Mears, our goalkeeper has been standout, but he's not going to win the Johnny Warren. So, looking around, like, not really, to be honest, outside of that. Like, I think Alagic has been unbelievable for Adelaide. So, but then it's just like how much of it actually relies on goals and assists, and as a midfielder, you don't get so many. So, I think Mata's been unbelievable this season.
Yeah. And you know what I thought about when I saw that as well? Because it happened to me at training the other day. Someone booted my hand. He'd be disappointed that he can't play golf. I think he is a bit of a golfer, Mata, isn't he?
He's a massive golfer. He's a huge golfer. Apparently, he's been getting around Melbourne playing everywhere.
Really? So he wouldn't be happy about that. Like,
that's the most frustrating part.
It's one thing to be like, fuck, I can't play now. But then you're like, oh, I've got all this spare time now. You can't even go and play golf. Maybe he can caddy for some of his mates that he goes with, but it's it's not good. It's not good at all. It's the one injury, I guess, with your arms and stuff. If you had to do something, if you're in a moon boot, not great, but I'm sure you could at least work on maybe your putting or some chipping or something. But if you're what is it? His elbow. That's done.
Yeah.
It could have long-term effects for his golf career.
Yeah, golfing elbow.
It's like actually I saw it. I know we're going off topic here, but with the golfing injuries, you see that Darcy Fogarty for the Crows played at Glenelg on his day off, and then the day after on a Thursday rocked up to training and he couldn't train because his back was no good, and they were saying, it played up in the morning, and then he couldn't play on the Friday. And they're saying, it had nothing to do with it, but he's got like his scorecard at the Glenelg golf course that he plays at, and he scored well. He must be a good golfer. And then Kane Corns was ripping into it. And I kind of agree with that. I think if you're going to play and have a back injury the day after, like probably 12 hours afterwards, it's not a good look. I don't know. It's I know you can't sit on the couch either, because that could also fuck your back up. But yeah, it's maybe don't put the scorecard in.
Yeah, if you can't handle the heat, stay out of the kitchen. You know what I mean? If your back's not up for it to be able to play golf, then just don't play, For me, I can go and hit 500 balls, and I reckon my back will be no worries.
If you're getting injured playing golf, you're surely rocking up the next day in training and forcing yourself to get through the first part of the session, and then making someone hit you and dropping down and be like, oh, my back seized up. That's
got to be a massive fine. Like, all jokes aside, you can't do that. Like, you shouldn't be playing golf close to a game anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Gareth Bale, what did we say? Was it 48-hour rule?
Yeah, you shouldn't be playing golf close to a game, but anyway, it is what it is.
They live the dream, those boys, footy players. The cash they get, the days off they get. Man, we picked the wrong sport. Zach Butters, your boy, gone from Port maybe to Richmond for $2 million a year.
Ryan Burton as well. He plays a lot. I've been seeing his videos.
Yeah, I know. It's well, anyway, we've done a lot of talk on here. Maybe, you know what? Because we've talked so much about golf, if there's any listeners that aren't current players that do love golf, drop us a message and let's try and tee something off in the off season. Maybe we can have a football friends kind of guess of the show versus me and you. And I'm not great, so you don't have to be very good to be potentially.
Or we'll just get a
beating us.
full-blown golf day going and just get everyone involved, and we'll just play a massive joint Stableford scores. 2v, 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 2v2. Try and get as many people as we can.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Then we just need to decide.
But I'm
where
not playing with
it's
you.
held.
I'm not playing with you because you're stinking.
You should see me. I was hitting them sweet yesterday at the driving range. I was hitting it. I got onto the 8-iron. Never used it before, and I was hitting it so well. Seriously,
That's not good.
It clicked.
Not good.
It clicked in my head. You know when there's those videos when it says, "Oh no, it's just clicked." It actually just clicked for me. Like the hold on the position. I feel like I need to go and play now, but I got fucking training. It's just annoying. But anyway.
All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you for
luck.
listening in. Enough golf talk. Yeah, thank you. Enjoy the week, Steph. Great to chat to you, and we'll see you guys next week.